Welcome back to another episode of Down in 216, hosted by your boy Will here, man. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling today as we get into another interesting video topic? So I just want to come to y'all and just do a little update. Going to this day, we got training camp now. We done had a full week of camp. A lot has happened in a full week of camp. I just want to go out and discuss a couple of topics, pretty much give you guys an update and a report card. Had Kenny Pickett. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that Kenny Pickett did get hurt. Kenny Pickett injury looks pretty significant. Kenny Pickett is also slated to miss pretty much the entire training camp. So what does that mean for this starting role? What does that mean for Kenny? What does that mean for this Cleveland Browns team? So if Kenny Pickett is still here by week 1 and on the roster, I would assume that means Joe Flacco is gone. And I would assume that means Dillon Gabriel. I would be very surprised if it's Shedeur Sanders, but Dillon Gabriel will probably be the starter week 1, which I don't know how I really feel about that. I'm not too excited about that, but, we'll get into it, what I would rather prefer. But I would assume Kenny Pickett has something. If the Browns are hell-bent on Kenny Pickett starting or being the player on this team, then that means Joe Flacco is getting cut. Because I don't see a world where they keep Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. And I don't see a world where they cut Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. I think they're both worth probably at least a 5th-round pick right now. And that's being very realistic and unbiased with you guys. So I would say that Kenny Pickett's chances of being on this roster is very slim, if we're being honest. Unless the Browns have a plan and they don't think and they just got Joe Flacco here for no reason. Because he's going to miss the entire training camp, the entire camp battle. It's not like he was running away with it or dominating it in any way, shape, or form. It's not like Kenny Pickett was a known, vet superstar in this league. Kenny Pickett has been very mediocre at best. And I haven't never been a really big believer in Kenny Pickett, but that's just because he played for the Steelers. I don't think a lot of us like Kenny Pickett because of that reason. Video is sponsored by Detrimental Figures, my brand here. As y'all see, some of the quality of my recent work. You get a signature tag on it as well. We make and really emphasize quality over quantity. We try to take and make sure we use the best materials to come up with our shirts and the best designs. Make sure y'all following us on Instagram, Detrimental Figures. So y'all can also get the description down below and hit the link for a shirt. Everything I drop is limited edition, so unfortunately this shirt is sold out. I don't have any more, but I have different things coming up similar to it. So keep in mind, and I'll keep you guys updated with some of my new stuff throughout these videos coming up. Which is understandable, but we go up against Ken. We know what he is. He's going to be on this roster. That means Joe Flacco don't even really got a chance, and that don't make sense because why would they sign Joe Flacco last out of everybody? So I don't think Kenny Pickett will be on this roster. I kind of would be surprised if he is, because then that would make really no sense to bring Joe Flacco on to cut him, So we're going to see about that. Kenny Pickett, like I said, I think he's probably going to get cut or traded. Dillon Gabriel, getting into him, we're going to go into Joe Flacco first. Going into Joe Flacco, I think Joe Flacco, I would give him like a B-. He's done what he's supposed to do. Not a lot of turnovers, but, it's Joe Flacco. He's looked pretty cool at camp. He's not doing nothing to get himself fired or cut or kicked off the team or anything like that. He's Joe Flacco as advertised. What you're going to get with Joe Flacco. For better or for worse, you do know what you're going to get for Joe Flacco. So I'll give Joe Flacco a cool, B- going into the first week of camp. Now going into Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, which probably what everybody came to the video for. Shedeur Sanders and Dillon. I would say Dillon Gabriel probably would get like a B. He's done more than what I've expected him to. He has turned the ball over here and there. He has had a couple balls batted down, but he's not playing as bad as Tyler Sloth or Jackson Dart. He's not really playing as bad as that. So I would say that's pretty good. Not really a lot of turnovers from the rookies as, compared to what we may have thought would have came from them before the season started. before before the season started. Before, what we would have thought they would have been at. You would have assumed they probably would have turned the ball over just a tad bit more. Now, Dillon did have a bad pick in the red zone. So, that did happen. That's that. But he is a rookie. You got to give somebody a little grace. I would say the same thing for Shedeur Sanders. Like, yeah, that's ugly. But it still comes down to what we thought of Dillon Gabriel before this draft. I wasn't too high on him. I think he's being pushed up because of the pick. The Browns was the only main people high on him. What is the scenario where the Browns is ever right? We don't know. They don't have a good track record with quarterbacks. So, it don't really make sense. Before the draft, he wasn't one of the QBs I would have took at any spot. I would have took Milroe. I would have took maybe the reason and the thinking is, hey, he has a lot of experience. And because he has a lot of experience, he's capable of playing early. So maybe they took Dillon Gabriel to play early. Maybe that had something to do with it. I do think he's capable of being decent and being good in spots, but I do think he's playing in the AFC North is probably the worst division a 5'10", 5'11" guy from Iowa could ever be in. It's going to be cold. They're going to be huge defensive linemen, defensive ends. It's going to be hard to see over that line. He's already jump throwing shit. Jump throwing in 9-degree weather versus jump throwing in 90-degree weather in the middle of training camp is not the same. So I just don't know how I really feel. I wasn't too high on him. So I'm not really high on him now. Nothing has really changed for me to see that. I would just say he's a little bit more up to date, or he's a little bit more of ahead of a schedule than I would have thought he was. So I don't think he's trash like I would assume. I call people trash sometimes, and I go a little. You can say Jameis Winston is trash, but I think Jameis Winston probably would be one of the best quarterbacks on this roster right now. So I would say for Dillon Gabriel, I think he's capable of being better than Joe Flacco. I think he's capable of being a top 32 quarterback in this league. But that's pretty much as far as I go. I do think he's gonna struggle, and he's playing he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers twice. Like, playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can we understand what's going to happen? Let me get closer. Guys, look at me. Playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in 32-degree weather with 5'11" Dillon Gabriel is not something that sounds like a winnable situation. It's just not, man. It's just not. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I remember Baker going out there in Pittsburgh and struggling. I remember Deshaun Watson going out there in Pittsburgh and struggling. It's one of the hardest places to play. You got Baltimore, one of the hardest places to play. You got Cincinnati that's coming in and putting up 30. So you got to understand what type of situation you're putting yourself in. And I don't see Dillon Gabriel's ceiling being high enough to compete with Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, or play well against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense in Pittsburgh. I don't see his ceiling being high enough to do that on a consistent basis. I don't. So who would I prefer to see in the long run? Me, personal bias, I would rather see Shedeur Sanders. I always thought Shedeur was a top 2 quarterback in this draft. I don't understand the slide. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but regardless of how I feel and regardless of how everybody else feels, Dillon Gabriel is still slated to be the starting quarterback right now. He's getting majority of the snaps. He's not shit in the bed. He's doing enough to not lose his spot. And I do think the Browns do like and prefer Dillon Gabriel for whatever reason. I don't think the Browns I don't think the Browns is correct as far as taking Dillon ahead of Shedeur. As y'all see, Tyler Sloth is struggling. Jackson Dart is struggling. I do think that the NFL is trying to really protect a lot of people's jobs, because if Shedeur Sanders come out and ball and you passed up on them, like New Orleans Saints, you're going to look pretty fucking stupid. The Giants is going to look pretty stupid. It's a lot of teams that's going to look pretty idiotic for going through and passing on this young man. So I do think the Browns waiting to pretty much see if he's good. It's like an NFL PR type of thing. So we're going to see. That is a conspiracy theory, though. I do think it's smart to bring Shedeur along slow. I don't think he needs to necessarily be getting first-team reps. I think the problem is that Dillon is there. And because Gabriel is there, it creates like a narrative that it should be what Gabriel is getting. Even though if it was Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, I don't think Shedeur will be guaranteed to get first-team reps necessarily. I think he might have still been getting second-team reps, second or third-team reps, had it not been Dillon Gabriel, based off of, what he needs to work on is just speed and time and speeding it up. It looks like he just need to get the ball out quicker. They work on a lot of stuff like that with him getting the ball out quick, lowering your check downs, so we gonna see. Dillon did play in a far harder division in college, a far harder schedule, competition, higher level football. But Shedeur Sanders, he had 2 years of Pac-12 football, and then he did play for the HBCU at Jackson State. So that is something to note that, Dillon Gabriel does have more experience than Shedeur Sanders, even though Shedeur was a junior. But with all that being said, Dillon Gabriel at no point in his life was asked to do or carry a team the way Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter carried the hell out of that Colorado team 2 years in a row. That's just a fact. And we can't go past that, or Jackson State. We can't go past that. Dillon Gabriel has never been put in a situation to do that. And not only are you asking him to come out and play starting NFL level quarterback play, you're asking him to pretty much play in a worse situation he ever played in his life. He's never had dire situations like he's about to play with the Cleveland Browns. And you're going to say, it might not be dire, it might not. He's never played on a worse team, been in a worse situation than what he is in the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders is used to this. So his ceiling is not only higher, but his chances to succeed and not crumble is also higher. So I still don't understand, what's going on, because I do wish that it was a little bit more fair and even, but it's like if it was fair and even, we'll be feeling like Shedeur needs to start week 1, Wouldn't we be feeling like that? If Shedeur Sanders was getting all the first-team reps, automatically, we would be low-key feeling like he should start week 1. So it's kind of okay that he's not doing that right now. I don't think it's going to really matter in the long run. It's football that has to be played. None of this shit is going to matter in the preseason when it comes. Who's going to perform? When the regular season comes, if Dillon Gabriel go out there and throws 3 picks, he's going to get booed off the field. Somebody else is going to play. It's going to be Shedeur Sanders, or it's going to be Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco come out there, throw 3 turnovers. Dillon Gabriel come out there. It's not like you're playing on a good team. It's not like you're playing in favorable situations. You're playing on an underdog every game. As a starting quarterback in the NFL, you got to come out and contribute. If you can't contribute, it's going to show. So regardless, this is all unnecessary. This is nothing to be losing your mind over or going crazy about, because at the end of the day, a quarterback cannot be hid. It would be okay for them to do this to a wide receiver. It would be okay for them to do this to a running back. We got away with Nick Chubb not looking elite for a whole rookie season because of Hugh Jackson. It would be okay if they could do this with a tight end. It's a quarterback, guys. We got to understand that a lot of this is not worth stressing over. We are going to see. Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. Shedeur Sanders should be able to outperform Joe Flacco. He can't play 18 games. Kenny Pickett can't play 18 games. Dillon Gabriel, we're going to see what he's made of. If Dillon Gabriel can't play, Shedeur Sanders is going to get his opportunity. So it's not even going to matter. It's not like it's easy to play fucking quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So we're going to see, man. That's my thoughts, my opinions on it. That's my analysis based off what I'm reading, what I'm seeing. I know the Browns do like Dillon Gabriel. I know Dillon Gabriel is ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is probably right on his heels. But we really don't even want Shedeur playing right now. Like, he don't need to come out and play week 1. It's not that damn serious. Like, when did Drake May start? J.J. McCarthy didn't play week 1. Jaden Daniels did. Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. So it is okay. It's not like dire situation. But Shedeur Sanders could easily start week 4, 5, 6, 7, and it still be okay, So that's what I say, man. I don't think it's fair to put him out there against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who about to put up 30. And we got to go. And not to mention, I don't think the Bengals is going to win. So when I say put up 30, I'm just talking. But you got to go up against Joe Burrow, who's going to put up points week 1. As a rookie, do you really want to put him in that situation? So, yeah, that's what I say, man. You guys comment down below, man. I know I said a lot in this video. But it looked like the Browns do want Dillon Gabriel. I probably actually will see. I would prefer Dillon Gabriel over Kenny Pickett. For sure. So, yeah. We're going to see what these guys is made up eventually. We got at least 2 more weeks, man. Hopefully we can get some joint practices and see, some real football getting played. I just want to see what everybody going to do. But it's your boy, Will. I'm out.